A warm good morning to all of you. You're watching DD India. I'm Preeti, with me is Shreya, and we're here to present breakfast news. In the next 1 hour, we'll get you to everything that's been making through the headlines. We'll get you national headlines, international updates, updates from the world of sports, business, and also we'll get you a web review and a health tip. Enough to engage you for the next 1 hour to make sure that your tea or coffee right in the morning tastes even better.
Absolutely, and it's the big day for Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry. Remember, polling is underway. It has already begun and people are queuing up outside polling stations to cast their vote. Also in Assam and West Bengal, it's the third phase of elections today. Assam, of course, it is the final phase of elections of voting today. We'll get you updates from there. DD India, remember, is at ground zero to get you the latest updates from all poll-bound states. Apart from that, of course, we'll also be getting you updates from the vaccination coverage across the country. Remember, so far nearly 8 crore people have taken the jab and the number is increasing every day. All of this and much more in this packed 1 hour show today for you. But first, let's take a look at the headlines that we are tracking at this hour.
Polling underway for single-phase assembly elections in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Puducherry and the third phase of Assam and West Bengal polls. Hectic campaign for next phase of polling in West Bengal. Prime Minister Modi to address election rallies at Rajpela ground in Cooch Behar and at Dumurjola in Howrah, West Bengal.
Centre rushes 50 high-level public health teams to Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh and Punjab for COVID-19 control and containment measures. Union Health Minister to meet Chief Ministers of 11 worst affected states today.
Mega awareness drive to be launched today to drive home the message of masking up, hand washing and social distancing to tackle COVID-19. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold virtual meet with Chief Ministers on 8th April over the resurgent COVID-19 pandemic.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to hold talks with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar today to prepare grounds for the annual India-Russia summit. Host of other issues also on the cards.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu to be the chief guest at the concluding ceremony of the 25-day-long ceremonial Dandi March being organized as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav 2021 at Dandi.
Earthquake of magnitude 5.4 on the Richter scale occurs near Sikkim Nepal border. Tremors also felt in parts of Assam, Bihar and West Bengal. Prime Minister Modi takes stock of the damage due to the earthquake, speaks with chief ministers of the affected states.
Mixed response across Europe, with France tightening curbs, Greece, Portuguese restrictions. United Kingdom also likely to announce the opening up of businesses.
NASA's Ingenuity Mars helicopter survives its first cold Martian night by itself. Major milestone on the red planet where surface temperature plunges as low as -90 degrees Celsius. NASA's Perseverance rover, which landed on Mars on February 18, has been carrying Ingenuity in the belly.
Today is the 125th anniversary of the first modern Olympic Games, which took place in Athens in 1896. 10-day largest international sporting event with 241 athletes from 14 countries competing in 43 events, with nearly 2/3 of the participants from Greece. Alright, those were the headlines. Let's get to news in detail now. We begin with the national headlines first and we get to poll updates from the poll-bound states.
Yes. Well, polling is underway in 4 states and one union territory. The states are Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Assam, West Bengal, and the union territory, of course, is Puducherry. In Assam, 337 candidates, including 25 women, are in the fray for the 40 assembly constituencies spread over 12 districts in the third and the final phase. In West Bengal, 205 candidates, including 13 women, are vying for 31 seats in 3 districts during the third phase. Now, the state is witnessing an 8-phase election. Meanwhile, in Kerala, 957 candidates, including 123 women and one third gender person, are vying for the 140 assembly seats spread over 14 districts during the single phase. Now, in Tamil Nadu, a total of 3,998 candidates, including 411 women and two third gender persons, are vying for the 234 assembly seats spread over 37 districts during the single phase. In the Union Territory of Puducherry, 324 candidates, including 35 women, are vying for 30 seats in 4 districts during the single phase. Now, besides this, the Lok Sabha by-polls are also being conducted simultaneously for Kanyakumari seat in Tamil Nadu and Malappuram seat in Kerala.
Meanwhile, campaigning for the next phase of assembly elections in West Bengal reached its feverish peak. Leaders and star campaigners from various parties are holding rallies to garner support in favor of their candidates. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address election rallies in Cooch Behar and at Dumur Jola in Howrah for the next phase of polls in West Bengal. All right, to get us more on how has the day begun in the poll-bound states, we're joined in by our reporters from Ground Zero. We're joined in by
Vishal
Barrister from
Kokrajhar,
Kokrajhar, Ravi Dhiman from Kochi and Abhishek Jha from Kanyakumari. Yes, Ravi, first we come across to you. The only phase polling in Puducherry is being held today. It's a little too early to talk about the voter turnout, but let us know, how do we expect the day to be, or rather, how has the day begun? Ravi, if we are audible to you, let us know, how has polling begun in Kochi?
Well, as you said,
All right. There seems to be an audio issue with Ravi. We'll connect with Ravi Dhiman again from Kochi. I'll go across to my colleague Vishal, who's joining us from Kokrajhar in Assam. Vishal, good morning. The third and the final phase in the state. How's the battle panning out there? And of course, what's the latest on ground? I'm sure people are coming out in large numbers to exercise their franchisee today.
And Preeti, it's a bright morning here in Kokrajhar. I am here at the girls' school. This area falls under the Bodoland region. Last year, the government of India signed a peace accord, which was a third one. And after that, there has been no agitation, no incidents of insurgency, because this area was very much known for that, and it was quite a disturbed area. I would ask my cameraman to first show you how people are responding to this day. There you can see how people are coming out in good numbers, and how they are casting their vote with proper social distancing. This is the norm that we all have to follow, and they also have the medical staff, the two nurses sitting in uniform. They are armed with gloves and sanitizers. Yesterday I showed all the viewers how the polling parties have been giving special kits of COVID, where they are carrying the gloves, the sanitizers, the PPT kits. So this is how the voters of Kokrajhar are responding. There you see another queue to give you another view of the polling station here. See how people have come out in large number. This is quite early stage as far as election is concerned, but there is a lot of excitement as far as voters are concerned. Let me tell you that this is all women polling station rather, because you have all the staff women, and they are properly conducting this election. The issue is development, and the Prime Minister also held a rally here some days back and few days back, and he said that ever since the peace accord has been signed, I have not heard of any incidents of insurgency. Now, development is the agenda which is very much high here, because a medical college has been promised, a central university is also coming up. So with all these promises of development, the parties are vying for elections. And this area falls under the borderland region, which has 12 seats. So 12 seats are going to decide the fate. And this is the last phase. So out of 40, 12 seats would be deciding the fate of candidates. BJP and Congress are the main national parties here in Kokrajhar and in the borderland region. Preeti?
All right, from here we go across to Ravi Dhiman, who's joining us from Kochi. Ravi, earlier there was a disruption in your audio. Please continue. Let us know how has the day begun there.
Well, as you can see, we are standing in Kochi here in a primary school, and people are now coming to this polling center to cast their vote, to exercise the franchise. Kerala has always been a very politically conscious state. The voters here quite well know their voting rights, and they are aware of the issues that have hit the campaign trail of many parties that hog the limelight, that hog the headlines, and they vote accordingly. It has been known to oscillate the governments between LDF and UDF for past many decades, and the Kerala voter is very conscious, well read, and so we can expect a good crowd here in Kochi, the business capital of this southern Indian state. As of now, from 7 a.m. the people are now streaming in. They're coming in because of the summer season. We expect a little less crowd during the daytime, but in the morning and in the late evening till 7 o'clock, the crowds will come to the polling booths. And as we were told yesterday also by the Election Commission and the district officials, elaborate arrangements for security and for checking, maintaining the COVID-19 protocol have been kept in all the polling booths and polling stations. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the number of booths have been increased by 15,000 all across the state, so as to maintain the standard of having only 1,000 voters per polling booth. And all the COVID-19 protocols, the Election Commission officials have stressed that they have to be followed.
Right.
And so the people in the early morning now, they are streaming in at this polling booth, and fate of 957 candidates will be captured in the EVM today.
All right, I'll also like to bring in my colleague Abhishek, who's joining us from Kanyakumari right now. Abhishek, Vanakkam from the Delhi studios. How is the situation panning out there? You know, it's of course the D-Day for that state, which is seeing the election for the first time without its, you know, legendary icons that we did see in the past years. But this time, what is the ground report? Are people coming out there?
Vanakkam, Shreya from the southernmost district of India. I'm at Kanyakumari, and this is a polling booth where almost 4 booths have been joined. There is one dedicated booth for female voters, and there are other 3 where like mixed voting is happening. Almost 2,500 voters are going to come here and vote. Since morning, we are seeing long queues of voters, because you know that Kanyakumari is a little hot and humid during the daytime. So most likely people would prefer to vote in the early hours or probably during the late hours. Voting percentage usually happens to be good here, like around 70% people have been voting regularly. If we look at the past record of the voting percentage here in Kanyakumari, this place is unique as well, because in Kanyakumari, the voters are voting for 2 seats. One is for the assembly election, and the other is for the parliamentary election also, because this parliamentary seat was vacant after the death of Congress parliamentarian with Sawant Kumar, and now the fight is again between BJP, Congress, and many parties. They are contesting from this parliamentary seat. So voters have the opportunity to select, to elect actually their assembly, the representative for the legislative assembly of the state, and a parliamentarian for the Lok Sabha as well. There are the
Right, go on, Abhishek.
Yes, please continue, Abhishek.
And we have seen, in the morning, I could see so many old people also. They are being accompanied by some young men and women, mostly polling agents and the supporters of respective party leaders, party cadres. You know, because in assembly election, the smallest number of votes, sometimes it happens with with few dozens and few hundred votes, people lose and win. So actually, every vote counts, and that keeps every political party, hooked with this hope that every single voter, no matter how old or no matter how unable he is to walk to the booth, they will try to, make them sit in car, and they will facilitate all logistics to ensure that every voter go and vote at least. He can choose while voting, he can choose like which party he is going to favor. But normally we have seen that polling agents do try to encourage all the possible voters who are actually living in the area to come to their respective booths and vote and exercise their franchise.
All right, elaborate arrangements have been made by the Election Commission. Vishal, coming across to you now, we've seen that in the past two phases, impressive voter turnout has been witnessed. I would want you to elaborate on what marks this last phase of polling in Assam different from the previous two phases. What all areas in the state are going to poll, and what are the interesting facts about this phase of polling?
Well, Preeti, as you know that this is the last phase, 40 seats are up for grab. Last two phases we saw a spectacular show by the voters, around 80% in both the phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Now this third phase is going to be the deciding factor because it includes the lower Assam, which is highly contested between BJP and Congress, and also the Bodoland area. As I told you, the 12 seats are here for the decider. Bodoland has had a difficult past. There have been killings, there have been incidents of arms recovery, there have been incidents of insurgency. So a lot of issues were there, and this area did not see any development. Though two peace accords were signed, but this was the third one that has turned the fortunes for them, because it was signed between the Union of India and the Bodoland leaders. And that is why now the people are really expecting that some development would come. The best part is there have been no incidents of violence here, which has given peace a chance. And wherever there is peace, you can expect development, and that is why people are coming out in large numbers. I would ask my cameraman to show you once again how people have now come out in large numbers. There you see. We will talk to some of the youngsters as well. There's a lady here, youngster here. What's her name?
Tanya Kaur.
Are you casting a vote for the first time?
No, it's my third time.
So how do you feel when you come to the vote, cast your vote, because this is all women polling station?
I feel great, as usual. Everyone is casting votes, so am I. That's it.
Are you also excited?
Kind of.
So did you come alone or you came with your family?
My family, my mom and my aunt and my sister.
So how excited are you? Did you prepare yourself for this day?
Yeah, same as usual. And it's my second time. Yeah.
So there you heard, Preeti, that there's a lot of excitement as far as the women folk are concerned. North is known for the women power, and they saw how these youngsters, along with their mother, they have come out, and not only them, but also all these people who have thronged this polling station here at the Government Girls' School in Kokrajhar.
Yes.
So people are quite excited, and we are expecting that the first two phases would be followed by the third phase, which saw around 80% of polling. So this is a very good sign, especially in the COVID time, that people are coming out in large numbers.
Right.
They are maintaining the protocol and taking all precautions.
Right, all right, Vishal, talking of women power, I see in Kerala, in Tamil Nadu specifically, in Kerala, 123 women candidates, and in Tamil Nadu, 411 women candidates are in the fray this election. And one interesting fact, of course, is that in Kerala, there is one third gender person, and in Tamil Nadu, there are two third gender persons who are also in the fray in the election. So really interesting, inclusive election. Of course, we have a long way to go, but this is, of course, a very good start. I'll go across to Abhishek first. Abhishek, overwhelming there. We see, we're seeing women coming out in large numbers to vote. We're also seeing women candidates fighting the election, and of course, the third gender also being included in this year's election. So really interesting battle panning out there in the two states as well.
Of course, Shreya, the battle is actually very interesting. You talked about the women folk. There is large number of women voters which are actually very important for every political party. And during the poll manifestos and everything,
Yes.
they try to ensure all the freebies and the stuff that can actually lure women voter to their fold. However, if you talk about the women candidates contesting, this is not very encouraging sign still. Less than 15% candidates, women candidates, including the senior political parties, they have not been very enthusiastic about giving more and more women candidates the chance to contest elections. However, there is a still trend that is increasing only, but not up to the standard that it could have been after 70 years of our independence probably. Meanwhile, to show you the preparation here, the health protocol has been strictly followed at all the polling officials. They have been distributing those plastic hand gloves and hand masks, and then only after taking all these precautions, anybody can enter the polling booth. And once the polling booth, they have to be in the line. The social distancing is something which is not very impressive here because of maybe the crowd is too much in the morning time, and people would like to prefer their voting in the morning, and they will go to their workplaces maybe during the daytime. But however, Election Commission has been very fully prepared for all the lead for the voters. The good thing so far in the Tamil Nadu elections has been that the violence, this state has not seen any major violence or violent incidents during the elections past. So this time also, however, the security personnel are deputed here, but we don't see any armed police personnel are deputed here, which is a very relieving sign of people enjoying this democratic festival, people not clashing with each other physically, and people maybe they have ideological differences, but they do support each other in carrying out the smooth, fair and free election in the state.
All right, Abhishek. So you are putting into perspective for us the poll contest. From here, I'll bring in Ravi. Ravi, very quickly and very briefly, let us know what are the prospects of the political parties this time around. We've talked about voters in all the 3 states. Let us know how is the political contest in Kerala poised this time around, with LDF broadening its poll alliance to break the trend and also attempting to return to power.
That's true, because the LDF, as per the history of Kerala, it's a turn of UDF to come to power, but nothing can be said this time because Kerala is really standing at a very interesting trisection. The entry of the powerful campaign, vociferous campaign by the NDA campaigners have also tilted the balance a little bit. Which way the votes will go, nobody can tell this time. But this is for sure that this election is starkly different from the previous ones in recent times in the issues that hogged the limelight and the headlines during these election campaign by the central leaders, and also by the entry of a third force in the name of NDA. BJP has vociferously campaigned for its candidates. It opened its account last time and it hopes to increase the tally this time. And besides increasing the tally, the most important factor is that BJP candidates are fighting in almost, the NDA candidates are fighting in almost all the constituencies, and they will garner the votes that can have a substantial impact on the total overall outcome of the elections in these states. And also these elections are crucial for the left front because they are not in power in any other state in India.
Yes.
They will want to cling on to power to at least one state. They are equally crucial for the Congress party, for the UDF, because after Rahul Gandhi was elected an MP from Wayanad, this is the first time the state for the assembly elections is going to polls, and it is politically, the political people say that it is very important political election for Rahul Gandhi and for the Congress as well. So each and every party, each and every front has pulled out all stops to ensure that they win this election. And the results are going to be very, very interesting this time in Kerala.
All right, the political parties there leaving no stone unturned in any of the poll-bound states to make sure they come to power. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us this morning with details from the various polling stations across these states which go to polls. We'll keep you updated. It's a packed day ahead when we talk of the polling in these states.
Absolutely, and we at DD India, of course, will be getting you the latest ground situation from all the poll-bound states and union territory.
Let's change focus now. We'll talk of vaccination and
Yes.
COVID updates now.
Yes. Well, moving on, the central government has constituted 50 high-level multidisciplinary public health teams and deployed them to 50 districts across Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh and Punjab in view of the recent very large numbers of daily new COVID-19 cases and daily mortality being consistently reported by these states. The teams are being rushed to 30 districts of Maharashtra, 11 districts of Chhattisgarh and 9 districts of Punjab to assist the State Health Department and local authorities in COVID-19 surveillance, control and containment measures. Now, the two-member high-level team consists of a clinician or epidemiologist and a public health expert. The teams will visit the states immediately and monitor the overall implementation of COVID-19 management, especially in testing, including surveillance and containment operations, COVID-appropriate behavior and its enforcement, availability of hospital beds, sufficient logistics, including ambulances, ventilators and medical oxygen, and of course COVID-19 vaccination progress. Now, 3 senior officers from the Government of India have been appointed as nodal officers for the 3 states of Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh and Punjab. The high-level teams will report to and coordinate with the nodal officers for the 3 states. They will submit daily reports on 5 aspects, including testing, contact tracing, including surveillance and containment, hospital infrastructure, including ICU, ventilator and oxygen beds, enforcement of COVID-appropriate behavior, and the COVID vaccination.
And regularly we've been telling you how India's fight against COVID-19 is continuing. Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will today launch a mega COVID-19 awareness drive. The Prime Minister will hold the next meeting with the Chief Ministers on Thursday, and the Union Health Minister will also hold a meeting with the Health Ministers of 11 states this evening to discuss the present situation.
In view of the increasing cases of COVID-19 in the country, the government is proactively taking appropriate steps to keep the situation under control. Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself is monitoring the situation. The Prime Minister will hold the next meeting with all Chief Ministers on Thursday, April 8th at 6:30 p.m. On Sunday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had chaired a high-level meeting to review the COVID-19 pandemic situation and vaccination program in the country. The Prime Minister directed that for sustainable COVID-19 management, awareness as well as community involvement is a must. The emphasis was laid on continuing Jan Bhagidari and Jan Andolan for COVID-19 management. On 6th of April, the Prime Minister will launch a mega COVID-19 awareness drive. The campaign will run from 6th to 14th April. As part of the drive, people will be motivated to adhere to the use of masks at all times.
रेगुलर मास्क लगाता हूं और मास्क से कोरोना का बचाव होता है।
पिछले 1 साल से मास्क लगा रहा हूं जिससे मुझे अभी तक कोरोना नहीं हुआ है।
सबसे अच्छी बात यह है कि सामने वाले अगर कोई वायरल चीजें छोड़ रहा है छींक से वगैरह से तो उससे प्रोटेक्ट करता है।
Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has given a unique slogan to boycott those who don't wear masks in public places.
कि यदि कोई बिना मास्क लगाए आएगा तो उससे बात नहीं करेंगे, मास्क नहीं तो बात नहीं।
The Union Health Minister will hold a meeting with the health ministers of 11 states on Tuesday at 6 p.m. to discuss the present situation. These are the states reporting the highest number of COVID-19 cases.
सबसे मेरी विनम्र अपील है, अपनी रक्षा के लिए, अपने परिवार के स्वास्थ्य की रक्षा के लिए, समाज के और देश के स्वास्थ्य की रक्षा के लिए कृपया कोविड एप्रोप्रिएट बिहेवियर को अपनाने में जरा भी चूक ना करें।
The recent surge in COVID-19 cases is a major cause of worry for all of us, and the only way we can defeat this deadly virus is by tracking, tracing, testing, maintaining COVID-appropriate behavior at all times, and getting oneself vaccinated when our turn comes. Bureau Report, DD India.
Meanwhile, the centre on Monday wrote to the Delhi government flagging instances of some private hospitals registering non-eligible people for vaccinations. The Union Health Ministry has written to the Principal Secretary of Health in New Delhi on irregularities in the identification of COVID vaccination beneficiaries below the age of 45 years by some private COVID vaccination centres. In a letter to the Principal Secretary, the centre said the vaccination exercise as a tool to protect the most vulnerable population groups in the country from COVID-19 continues to be regularly reviewed and monitored at the highest level. The Delhi administration has been asked to immediately issue a show-cause notice to the hospitals regarding such wrong practices and seek a written explanation from them within the next 48 hours. Now, as per provisions of the ongoing COVID-19 vaccination drive, citizens above 45 years of age are being vaccinated along with healthcare workers and frontline workers who are above the age of 18 years as per the recommendations .
The Delhi government has meanwhile increased the operational time of COVID-19 vaccination centres in the city from today. 1/3 of these centres in the national capital will be operational round the clock. Earlier, all vaccination centres in the city used to work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Now, 1/3 of them will remain open from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. Delhi Health Department has issued an order in this regard, saying the decision has been taken to accelerate the pace of COVID-19 vaccination.
From Delhi to Madhya Pradesh, where in a bid to spread awareness among the masses amid the surge in COVID-19 cases, the State Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan will today hold discussions with people from various walks of life by sitting at the Minto Hall in capital Bhopal. Chauhan's Swasthya Agrah or the health request sit-in will continue for 24 hours beginning 12:30 p.m. this afternoon. During the sit-in, the Chief Minister's office will function under the sky at the Minto Hall, ensuring that all mandatory pandemic protocols are being followed. To ensure maximum participation of people in the fight against COVID-19, a campaign titled Main Corona Volunteer will also be launched in the state today.
Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh has submitted his resignation to Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. Deshmukh resigned after Bombay High Court ordered a CBI probe into allegations of extortion against him by former Mumbai Police Chief Parambir Singh. Meanwhile, a team of CBI officials from Delhi is visiting Mumbai today to start preliminary inquiry against the former Maharashtra Home Minister in extortion case involving suspended and arrested former Mumbai Police Cop Sachin Vajay.
Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh facing the fallout of the plea filed by former Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh. Deshmukh's resignation comes after the Bombay High Court ordered a CBI probe following Parambir's plea that has left the Maha Vikas Aghadi government in a tight spot since March 25th. After Anil Deshmukh tendered his resignation to Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray, the NCP has asked the Chief Minister to accept it.
ये आदेश आने के बाद गृह मंत्री स्वयं अनिल देशमुख जी पार्टी के राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष पवार साहब से जाके मिले। उन्होंने इच्छा जाहिर की कि ये प्रिलिमिनरी इंक्वायरी चलते हुए मैं अपने पद पे नहीं रहना चाहता।
According to the criminal public interest litigation filed by Parambir Singh, Deshmukh had asked police officers, including suspended Assistant Police Inspector Sachin Vajay, who has been arrested in the case of bomb scare near industrialist Mukesh Ambani's residence here, to collect 100 crore rupees each month from bars and restaurants. While hearing the petition, the court ruled that Anil Deshmukh is the Home Minister and no impartial probe can be done by the police.
Within 15 days, CBI ने preliminary inquiry करनी है डायरेक्टर ने.
Meanwhile, the BJP has raised questions over the alarming silence of Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray over the whole issue.
हम भी जानते हैं कि शरद पवार के इशारे पर ही वो इस्तीफा देते या न देते, लेकिन हमारे उद्धव ठाकरे जी कब बोलेंगे? उनकी खामोशी कई सवाल खड़े कर रही है। सचिन वाजे की कहानी कहां तक जाएगी ये तो एनआईए बताएगी, लेकिन उसकी परत दर परत रोज खुल रही है।
गृह मंत्री का ये इस्तीफा बहुत पहले आना चाहिए था। जिस समय इस प्रकार के आरोप लगे, फिर पूर्व पुलिस कमिश्नर का पत्र आया पूर्व कमिश्नर इंटेलिजेंस का रिपोर्ट खुला हुआ, इसमें से किस प्रकार से सरकार में रैकेट चल रहा है, ये सारी चीजें बाहर आई। वाजे इनके इन्वेस्टिगेशन में जो जो चीजें बाहर आई वो आश्चर्यचकित करने वाली थी। सारी चीजों में मुख्यमंत्री जी मौन रहे।
The growing trouble for the MVA seems to be touching the heights of Antillia. After all, it was outside Antillia, the South Mumbai residence of industrialist Mukesh Ambani, from where an explosive-laden car was found. The owner of the car was found dead under mysterious circumstances a few days later. Assistant Police Inspector of the Mumbai Police, Sachin Vajay, was involved in the bomb scare investigation. When the case was handed over to the CBI, Sachin Vajay was suspended. Following this, Mumbai Police Commissioner Parambir Singh was transferred by the state government. NCP Supremo Sharad Pawar had also backed Anil Deshmukh then. Seeing all this, Parambir Singh had approached the Bombay High Court, questioning Deshmukh's role as the Home Minister. Bureau Report, DD India.
So the Maharashtra turmoil seeing no end anytime soon. Alright, moving on, an important round of discussion between India and Russia will take place today between the visiting Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Now, according to a statement by the Russian Embassy in India, during the visit, Sergei Lavrov will discuss topical issues of bilateral relations with an emphasis on the forthcoming high and highest level meetings, as well as the implementation of outcomes of the 20th Russia-India Summit held on the 4th and 5th of September in 2019 in Vladivostok. The heads of the foreign ministers of Russia and India will exchange views on vital issues of the international and regional agenda, including interaction in United Nations, the SCO and the BRICS, which is chaired by India this year, as well as the RIC. Now, important set of topics related to the situation in Asia-Pacific region and Afghanistan will also be discussed. Lavrov arrived in New Delhi, remember, for his official two-day visit yesterday.
The Bharatiya Janata Party is celebrating its foundation day today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the party workers through a video conference on the occasion. BJP President JP Nadda will also deliver his address. Various events will be organized at all booths by the party across the country to mark the occasion. BJP workers will also hold discussions about policy of the party and the various welfare schemes of Narendra Modi government.
Alright, news now from the historic Dandi March. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu will be the chief guest at the function to mark the conclusion of the 25-day-long Dandi Yatra in Gujarat today. The foot march was flagged off from the Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad on the 12th of March by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to mark the 75 years of India's independence under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav initiative. The Padyatra was undertaken by 81 marchers from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi in Navsari, which is a journey of 386 kilometers. The Dandi Yatra was undertaken, remember, by Mahatma Gandhi on the 12th of March in 1938 to challenge the salt tax imposed by British occupiers. The Dandi March is considered as a defining movement in the Indian independence struggle, after which the entire nation stood behind Mahatma Gandhi against the British government.
After all those national updates, we turn focus on to international updates now in our segment Across the Globe. Let's now take a look at the updates on the COVID-19 front from across the world. The cases of COVID-19 globally have crossed the 13 crore mark. More than 13 crore 23 lakh people worldwide have contracted COVID-19 so far, while over 10 crore 66 lakh have recovered from the virus. The deadly virus has so far claimed more than 28 lakh 73,000 lives globally. The United States remains the worst affected country by the virus. The country has reported more than 3 crore 14 lakh cases. Over 5 lakh 69,000 fatalities have been reported in the US so far.
Well, news from United States, where Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Monday that the US will soon be able to ramp up vaccine assistance abroad and will not seek favors in return. Now, Blinken said the top priority of United States was to fight COVID-19 at home, but that the goal would be achieved soon, pointing to President Joe Biden's promise that 90% of Americans will be near a vaccination site by 19th of April. Now, Blinken also named former USAID Administrator Gail Smith as the Biden administration's coordinator for global COVID-19 response and health security. Blinken added that United States would work with global partners on manufacturing vaccines to ensure that there will be enough supply.
As we get more confident in our vaccine supply here at home, we are exploring options to share more with other countries going forward. We believe that we'll be in a position to do much more on this front. I know that many countries are asking for the United States to do more, some with growing desperation because of the scope and scale of their COVID emergencies. We hear you, and I promise we're moving as fast as possible.
California is on the brink of administering 4 million COVID-19 vaccine doses in its most disadvantaged areas. With over 3.93 million doses doled out, California will soon reach the target, thereby relaxing one of the metrics necessary for countries to progress into the lower tiers of the four-rung reopening roadmap. While the imminent revision to California's reopening roadmap won't affect those counties that have already moved into the orange or yellow tiers, it would make it easier for them to avoid potentially backsliding should their virus cases rates creep up a bit. California currently has over 36,82,000 cases of the virus, along with death toll surging past 59,000.
From California to Greece, which has announced that it will be extending restrictions on domestic flights until 12th of April, whereas restrictions on international flights will remain in place till the 19th of April. The announcement comes in the wake of surging cases of new COVID-19 variants across the world. As per the restrictions, all those flying to Greece must have a negative PCR test report, which they had undergone 72 hours before arrival, and will also have to undergo random testing for COVID-19. Now, all foreign travellers are quarantined for 7 days. Most flights from non-European Union member states are banned, with the exception of 10 countries, including Britain. For domestic flights, only essential travel is permitted.
In Portugal, cafe and restaurant esplanades reopened yesterday with a maximum of 4 people allowed to sit together, as the southern European country continues to ease more of its pandemic lockdown restrictions. Museums and national monuments, small street side stores and gyms opened their doors again, though there are some limits on the capacity. Some individual sports, such as surfing, are also allowed. On Monday, children up to 15 years of age returned to classes for the first time since the lockdown came into force in January, when Portugal was the worst hit country in the world by size of its population. Presently, Portugal has a total of over 8,23,000 COVID-19 cases, with death toll surging past 16,000.
Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said that a planned reopening of the economy would take place next week, with the opening of all shops, gyms, hairdressers and outdoor hospitality areas in England. With the vaccine programme rolling out rapidly across the UK and infection numbers falling, Johnson said that England would proceed to stage 2 of his roadmap out of the lockdown from April 12th. Now, speaking at a press conference in London, the UK Prime Minister has also confirmed that the government was looking at a COVID status certification system or vaccine passport to help reopen larger events. The earliest date for resuming non-essential international travel will be the 17th of May. The British Premier cautioned that while the government was still aiming for that date, it did not want to underestimate the growing number of COVID-19 cases elsewhere in the world.
NASA's Mars helicopter Ingenuity has survived its first frigid night alone on the red planet. The Perseverance rover, which landed safely in Jezero crater on the Martian surface on February 18th, has been carrying Ingenuity in its belly as mission teams prepare for the crew's first flight, which is set to take place no sooner than April 11th. Ingenuity has to survive temperatures as low as minus 90 degrees Celsius on Mars's surface. However, despite the fact that these extreme temperatures could freeze and crack the craft's onboard batteries or other electrical components, the 1.8 kilograms helicopter survived its first chilly night. There are still a number of tasks that the mission team will have to accomplish before Ingenuity is ready to fly.
And from Mars, let's get back to Earth to Myanmar, where protesters remained defiant against the military junta yesterday after violent demonstrations over the weekend. Demonstrators in Yangon set Chinese flags on fire in opposition to China's stance at a UN Security Council session held last week. The global peace body has so far issued 2 statements expressing concern and condemning the violence against protesters, but dropped language condemning the army takeover as a coup and threatening possible further action due to opposition by China, Russia, India and Vietnam. China's UN ambassador Zhang Jun had told the session that China was working with all parties in Myanmar to reduce tensions. Now, demonstrations in the country are demanding the restoration of Aung San Suu Kyi's government and calling for more coordinated nationwide dissent against the military junta as regional nations prepare for talks on the crisis.
The United States expects indirect talks with Iran about both sides resuming compliance with the 2015 Iran nuclear deal to be difficult, adding that it did not foresee any early breakthrough. The talks begin today. Iran and the US said on Friday that they would hold indirect talks in Vienna as part of a wider effort to revive the nuclear deal between Tehran and global powers, formally called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Tehran has ruled out face-to-face bilateral discussions, and State Department spokesman Ned Price told reporters at his daily briefing yesterday that the United States did not expect any at present but remained open to the possibility. U.S. Special Envoy for Iran, Rob Malley, a veteran of the Clinton and Obama administrations, will lead the U.S. delegation in the talks. Also, Donald Trump withdrew from the deal in 2018 and reimposed sanctions, prompting Iran to violate some of the pact's nuclear restrictions in retaliation.
Our goal is, of course, to see to it that that breakout time is as long as possible. Our overarching goal is to ensure that Iran's nuclear program is permanently and verifiably constrained, and that on a permanent and verifiable basis, Iran will not be able to obtain a nuclear weapon. That is not just our goal. That is the goal of our remaining partners in the P5+1. It is the goal of our partners and allies in the region, and it's certainly a goal that has broad support within Congress as well. So we are not seeking to drag these talks on any longer than necessary, but we're also not going to cut corners, given the profound stakes that are at play here.
Well, news from Turkey now. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has said in a statement by formal admirals warning that his plans for a new canal in Istanbul put the Montreux Convention Maritime Accord in jeopardy. It was hinting at a political coup, according to him. Erdogan, however, expressed his commitment to the 1936 agreement that gives the country control over the Bosphorus and Danube Straits within its borders. His remarks come as authorities detained 10 retired admirals for signing a statement in support of the 85-year-old Maritime Accord, accusing them of conspiring against the constitutional order. Erdogan is planning to build a 45-kilometer long canal to the west of the natural route in Bosphorus.
Time now to get to Web Review, a segment we get for you every day when a colleague joins us with what all has been put forth on the various social media platforms. All right, to get us the Web Review today, Meghna is joining us. Meghna, good morning. Let us know what all have you picked up for us in the Web Review today.
A very good morning, Shreya and Preeti. So let's begin with the web news review for today. The first is from Times of India. The article states that the pediatricians say that COVID-19 has been affecting children more than in the first wave, and pediatricians have also said that in this wave, children are developing symptoms even before the adults. The symptoms are like fever, cold, dry cough, vomiting, fatigue, and also loss of appetite is being seen in children. The second is Saudi authorities say that only the people who have been immunized against COVID-19 will be allowed to perform the year-round Umrah pilgrimage from the start of Ramadan. And by immunized, the Hajj and Umrah ministry means that those who have received both doses of the vaccine, or the people who have received first dose of the vaccine 14 days prior, or the people who have recovered from COVID-19 infection will be allowed. So this is what the Saudi authorities have to say. The next is removal of human waste from rail tracks will soon be mechanized. A self-propelled railway track scavenging vehicle will be replacing the manual scavenging method that is being used. The multifunctional vehicle requires only one person along with the driver to carry out automatic cleaning of the track, and this has been developed by Bhopal-based National Institute of Teachers Training and Research, and this can also be used to transport garbage from the tracks to the roads and also for spraying disinfectants as well. So it is a multifunctional vehicle that will soon be seen to be used in the railways. So next we have is Delhi's first partition museum is likely to open its gates in August this year, and the museum is being set up at Dara Shikoh Library building in Kashmiri Gate, and letters, clothes, utensils, photographs belonging to those who migrated to Delhi from across the border during the partition will be displayed. The Arts and Cultural Heritage Trust will be managing the museum, which already has an experience of managing a similar kind of museum in Amritsar as well. Next and the last web news review we have for today is March 2021 was the third warmest in 121 years. The Indian Meteorological Department has said in terms of a monthly average temperature. The All India average monthly maximum temperature during March 2021 was 32.65 degrees Celsius, and it is the warmest in the last 11 years and the third warmest in the last 121 years. Several parts of the country had even recorded temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius in March. So this is all I have in the web news review for today. Back to the studios for more news and updates to Shreya and Preeti.
All right, Meghna, thanks very much for all those updates from the online world. And of course, one of the important things coming out of that is as youngsters, as young adults, we have to be very careful about how we are following the guidelines related to COVID-19. We have to, maintain that social distance, wash our hands, and of course, wear our masks at all times and properly, in a proper way.
Remember, we are at a very decisive stage in the fight against COVID-19. We have been showing an impressive account of recoveries, but that does not mean that we need to sit back and relax. Prevention is always better than cure. Make sure that you take all the preventions against COVID-19 so that not only you are safe, but also people around you are safe. Let's move on to our next segment, that's Sports Track. Today is the 125th anniversary of the first modern Olympic Games, which took place in Athens in 1896. The 10-day event was the largest international sporting event, with some 241 athletes from 14 countries competing in 43 events. Approximately two-thirds of the participants were from Greece. American James Connolly became the first Olympic champion of the modern games, winning the triple jump. The ancient Olympic Games were held between 776 BC and 393 AD in Olympia. After more than 15 centuries, Baron Pierre de Coubertin of France, known as the founder of the modern Olympics, proposed to revive the Olympic Games. In 1894, an agreement was reached at the International Paris Congress for re-establishment of the Olympics to host the Games in Greece, the birthplace of Olympism. The Tokyo 2020 Olympics, delayed by a year because of COVID-19 pandemic, are set to run from 23rd July to August 8, and the Paralympics from August 24 to September 5th.
And after that, let's now take a quick look at today's weather forecast.
A western disturbance as a cyclonic circulation lies over North Pakistan and adjoining Jammu and Kashmir, and also a fresh western disturbance is likely to affect western Himalayan region. Because of this, fairly widespread rainfall and snowfall with thunderstorm, lightning and gusty winds is likely over Jammu, Kashmir, Ladakh, Gilgit, Baltistan and Muzaffarabad, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Also, lightning, gusty winds, thunderstorm and isolated rainfall is likely over Punjab, North Haryana, Chandigarh and northwest Uttar Pradesh. Now we get to temperatures across major cities in the country. All right, that's it in this edition of Breakfast News this Tuesday morning. But before we go, we again leave you with this reminder to brace up yourselves against COVID-19. And still, it's not time to relax. Remember, wear a mask, wear it correctly and properly, maintain hand hygiene and also social distancing.
Absolutely. And before we go, we are leaving you with visuals from United States where visitors flock to California's flower fields as the COVID-19 restrictions ease. Of course, you know, the world is going through a tough time and flowers, nature can provide that much needed relief. Thanks very much for joining us on Breakfast News on DD India. Bye-bye.